Guys, it is Wednesday, September the 26th. I am not feeling the greatest this morning, so that's why I'm doing a different video format for you. But I needed to come on here and share some important things. So basically, yesterday I was speaking with a friend of mine over the phone, and she was talking to me about the tweet that had went out with Nikki Haley, who is the U.S. ambassador to the UN. And in that tweet, she did the hashtag calm before the storm. And her tweet and what she was saying was very, like, kind of just suspect in how she worded things and speaking of chaos. And it really sparked some attention. And so we were talking about that, and my friend was talking to me about New York and just different things that she was seeing and that she was hearing about. And immediately, as she was talking to me, I remembered a dream that I had on September 20th, which brings me to this video. And as I'm sharing this dream with her, I could just feel the chills going up and down my spine, because when I had the dream, I honestly didn't think a lot about it. I've been dealing with a lot this week, so I kind of just wrote it in my dream journal and just kind of went about, my week, and I just didn't think about it until she brought this up about New York. So on September the 20th, I had a dream where I was standing in this building, and it was like I was the buildings were very tall. It seemed like I was very high in the heavens, just looking, and everything was so magnified. Everything was so up close, so I could just see everything in detail. And the building that I was standing in, there was no roof, so it was allowing me to fully see what was going on. These buildings that were surrounding me, they were to the left of me and to the right of me. And all I can do in that building that I was standing in, if I turned, a certain way, those buildings would be directly in front of me, if that makes sense. So I'm standing in this building, and like I said, there was no roof on this building, so I could see everything very clearly. I want to say real quick, too, that the buildings that I saw around me, I instantly knew that it was New York. I can't explain why I knew that. It was just the buildings were very tall. It kind of looked like how New York looks when, you can see it lit at night. But it was made very clear to me that the buildings that I saw were buildings in New York. So I knew this is where I was. I ended up looking up in the heavens. And from a distance, not too far, but from a distance, I could see what looked to be a vertical beam. And it was just coming towards me. And in the center of this beam was like electricity. I know this may seem pretty odd, but I'm trying to explain this the best I know how. But that's what it looked like. It was a vertical beam, and it was almost transparent to the point where it kind of blended in with the sky. But you could see very clearly in the center of this electricity. And it was just surging in the center of it. And I'm watching this beam get closer and closer to me. And all of a sudden, it went towards the buildings that were on the left of me. And I turned and I'm facing, dead on, watching this building in front of me. And the beam starts to go through this building. And this lady looked at me, and her eyes were of panic. And the way she was looking at me, it was like, I know I'm about to die. And I felt so helpless in that moment, because I was literally watching this happen before my eyes. And as soon as this beam of electricity went through the building just, it crumbled. It was destroyed. And I knew everyone in that building, including that woman that looked at me, they were gone. They didn't make it. This beam continued and it turned in the direction that I was in. And I began to pray. I was praying in my prayer language. And I was just praying really hard. And it passed me by, but it went towards the building on the right of me. And I could also see people in that building. And I started praying even harder. And the beam went through that building, but it didn't crumble. The building was not destroyed, and the people's lives were spared. And I do believe it was because of the prayer that I prayed. And after that, I woke up. Now, I'm telling my friend this dream, and what's very fascinating to me is when I was describing this vertical beam that had electricity in the center of it, she told me, she said, that sounds like a direct energy weapon. And I was like, what is that? And she said, well, remember all the wildfires that was going on in California? And I was like, yeah. She was like, well, people are saying that they believe it was some type of direct energy weapon that they use. And so I never heard of this. I heard of the wildfires that was going on, but I didn't hear anything about a direct energy weapon. So this was the first time I had heard about this. So I'm looking this up, and it says a directed energy weapon is a ranged weapon system that inflicts damage at a target by emission on highly focused energy, including laser, microwaves, and partial beams. When I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if that's what I was seeing? Because the only thing I knew how to express what I saw in the dream was a vertical beam with electricity running through the center. And here it is. This is a direct energy weapon that is described as being a weapon that is a highly focused energy and partial beams. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what if this is what I was seeing? And I was just so mind blown. And so I don't know why the Lord would show me this. And I find it so interesting that I would have this dream, 2 days before the dream that I shared on yesterday about seeing the man come out of the waters, which I do believe is a representation of Revelations 13:1, where the beast is coming out of the sea, which we know the beast that is mentioned in that chapter and verse is speaking of the Antichrist. And so also what I find very significant is on today, Trump and Netanyahu met in New York to discuss the two-state solution. And it seemed like Netanyahu was on board with this. He basically stated that he believed that Trump has changed history and, how what Trump has done so far has touched his heart. And it also seems, that Netanyahu is on board because of the type of relationship that he does have with Trump. And Trump even expects a peace plan proposal in the next 2 to 4 months, which puts it between November and January of 2019. So, yes, we know Netanyahu is the prime minister over Israel, but remember, you guys, all of the kings of the world will give over their power to the beast. That is a fact. That's what the Bible says. So we have to be mindful of that. I don't know what else to say other than, there's a lot of things that are taking place where we are seeing Bible prophecy, being fulfilled in many ways and in such a short time span. I mean, there's just so much that we're seeing, unfold right before our eyes. And the thing is, you guys, this whole two-state solution, it has to happen, because that's the only way all the other things, that the Bible says will happen will be able to take place. So we have to see this two-state solution take place. There will be a deal that is made. And, we do know that once the U.S. successfully divides the land of Israel, which we know will happen because the Bible says it will happen, there's going to be a swift judgment that is going to come to this nation. And so, like I said, I don't fully know for sure why the Lord showed me what he showed me. But there was a clear message in this dream that that New York was going to be destroyed. There was going to be some type of destruction, I should say, that is going to come to New York. You guys, I don't know. I was pretty mind blown. I mean, it's amazing when the Lord shows you things and you have no idea, what it is that you're seeing. But when he allows you to get the revelation, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is what the Lord was showing me. So I do believe that what I was seeing in that dream was some type of direct energy weapon. And it was being used on New York. And I also believe that the destruction that can come in its fullness, it didn't because of the prayer. It was very clear that because of me praying and interceding, that the destruction that could have came to both of those buildings in the dream, it didn't, because I was going into prayer. When I first saw that first building be destroyed, it caught me off guard. I had no idea what was going on. I was just watching it happen. But once I saw that happen and I saw that building destroyed right in front of my eyes, and I knew there were many people that were killed, that's when I began to pray. And that's when what could have happened didn't happen any further. So, you can take this to the Lord in prayer. I encourage you to. But I don't find this to be a coincidence that I will have this dream and then find out that a lot of the things that were symbolic in the dream panned out to be something that is actually, is actually something that, the government, the military, they use. So I just wanted to share this with you all because I truly believe this was important. This is not a message of fear, but this is just a message of, telling you guys that a lot is going on in our world and we need to be very vigilant and make sure that we're watching at all times and praying as well. So I love you all. If I receive anything else, I will definitely let you all know. I pray you all have a blessed day. God bless you all. Bye.